Rimuru and Iruma's Adventures in the Netherworld by MU1622, found on Wattpad, fanfiction.net, and Archive of Our Own. Chapter 5, Iruma's Story and a Talk with Sullivan. Rimuru Point of View. So, to summarize, this kid has suffered his entire life. His parents are lazy pieces of shit who made him do everything for them from a young age. For years, despite only being 14, he's been responsible for his family's income and housework. Barely even able to go to school, he didn't have any friends or social life. One day, while he was working on a fishing boat, time suddenly froze, and Sullivan scooped him up and dragged him here. Turns out those bastards he calls parents sold him. Thankfully, Sullivan didn't have any intention of hurting him and asked him if he could adopt him as his grandson. From constantly putting up with his parents' demands throughout his entire life, Iruma has been conditioned to agree to do pretty much anything anybody asks him. The poor kid is a total pushover, in his own words. That's a good chunk of the reason he agreed to something as ridiculous as becoming the grandson of a demon who just bought him. On top of that, he's supposed to start school here in the Netherworld in a few days. The type of demons living here like to eat humans, apparently, although most demons think humans are a myth. Iruma will be putting himself in a very dangerous situation going to school here, surrounded by demons who might eat him if they find out what he is. So that's how I ended up here. Honestly, I don't know what I'm gonna do now. I'm scared, he says. Honestly, I want to go to Japan, find his shit-for-brain parents, and give them each a good punch in the face. What kind of parents treat their child like that? I couldn't help but sympathize with this poor kid. He's been through so much. I'm starting to feel the same way I felt way back in the day about the goblins soon after I met them. Witnessing a vulnerable person in a difficult situation tugs at my heartstrings. At first, I thought he would be better off returning to Japan. I was honestly planning on offering to help him escape from here and go back home if he wanted. Now that I know his situation better, though, I don't think that's a good option anymore. He might be better off staying with Sullivan instead of going back to his parents, if you can even call them that. I still feel hesitant leaving him here, though, since this place is definitely not very human-friendly. Just as I'm about to respond to Iruma, I pick up on two people arguing downstairs, one of them being Diablo. Oh, brother, what is he doing down there? The individuals, Diablo and Sullivan, appear to be arguing over something. Yup, and I think I can imagine why they're arguing too. Probably for the same reason Diablo wanted me to come along with him today. I don't want to deal with this, but I have to do something. Diablo is my subordinate after all. I can't have him acting out like this when we go places. Hey, Iruma, I need to go downstairs and, deal with something. You should stay up here. Things might get a bit, loud, I say before instantly teleporting downstairs. I can't worry about hiding my abilities right now. Time is of the essence. Although I could manipulate that if I had to. Diablo going on a full-blown rampage is the last thing I want, so I must defuse the situation before that can happen. Iruma Point of View. Thinking about it, I never really shared this much about myself with anyone before. Anytime I've shared my feelings with people in the past, they acted like they didn't care and pushed to end the conversation. Rimuru sat and listened patiently while I poured my heart out to him. Also, when I talked about my parents, he seemed genuinely upset about how they had mistreated me. Despite how scary he can be, Rimuru seems to be a nice person who cares about others. I've never had a real friend before, but I hope I can become friends with Rimuru. Looking like he's about to say something to me, Rimuru opens his mouth, but pauses. Instead of responding to the story I just shared with him, he says something I didn't expect. Hey, Iruma, I need to go downstairs and, deal with something. You should stay up here. Things might get a bit, loud, he grumbles, sounding annoyed. I'm about to ask him what he means by that, but the spot on my bed where he was sitting just a moment ago is empty. Rimuru was gone in the blink of an eye. Literally. I blinked and he was just gone. I'm left with a look of shock on my face, surprised that my guest just vanished into thin air right before my eyes. Geez, Rimuru can do some insane stuff, I think, feeling surprised, but not as much as I did about the stuff that happened earlier. I think I'm already starting to get used to Rimuru's personal brand of crazy. Also, what the heck does he mean by loud? I thought to myself, concerned about what this something happening downstairs could be. Rimuru point of view. I arrived downstairs to find sparks flying between Diablo and Sullivan. Clearly, both of them are quite agitated. Diablo is spouting off one of his typical lengthy anecdotes, trying to argue that I'm more adorable than Iruma, while Sullivan is advocating for the opposite. Both demons are ranting incessantly, talking over each other and not even listening to the other's words at all. Diablo, calm down and shut up this instant. That is an order, I yell at an inhumanly loud volume, my voice completely overtaking both of theirs. I'm happy I asked Iruma to stay upstairs, because he probably would have gone deaf if he had stood next to me just then. Both demons turned to look at me, startled by my sudden interruption. What the hell do you think you're doing getting into an argument with our host? I ask angrily. I just want to convince Sullivan that you are more adorable. You will never convince me that my precious little Iruma isn't the most adorable, Sullivan interjects. No, you are mistaken, Sullivan. My wonderful Lord Rimuru's appearance clearly outclasses that boy Iruma's, Diablo insists. I swear, Diablo can be embarrassing sometimes. I kind of thought that this might happen since I knew his motivation for coming here, but I didn't think he would get this heated about it. Stop, you two, please, I yell, putting an end to the nonsense before they start going at it again. After a moment of silence, I decide to go with the plan I concocted, although I really don't like it. Since we are completely different species, it's unfair to compare me and Iruma. So how about we come to a compromise? Sullivan, Iruma can be considered the most adorable human, and Diablo, I can be considered the most adorable slime, I say, ending the statement in a quiet voice, the humiliating words being hard to force out. I can feel my face turn red with embarrassment. I just want to crawl in a hole and never leave it. Does that work for you both? I ask, praying the mortifying experience I just went through wasn't for nothing. I humbly accept this resolution, Lord Rimuru. I am deeply sorry for causing you trouble, Diablo says with a pout on his face. I guess that is acceptable, but wait a moment. Rimuru, did you just say you're a slime? Sullivan asks, surprised. Oops, I forgot that he didn't know about that. I guess the cat's, or should I say slime's, out of the bag. Yep, I say. I quickly change into slime form, and then back to human to prove my point. See, that slime form is my true one, but I can change my body at will using a skill called universal shapeshift, I say, sprouting wings for a moment before putting them away. Cool, huh? I say with a smirk. I sense someone behind me, so I turn around to find that Iruma has entered the room. He just barely missed the end of the embarrassing conversation I just had. What happened? I felt the whole house shake a minute ago, Iruma inquires, looking concerned. That was probably from my voice. Oh, nothing. Your grandpa and Diablo just had a little misunderstanding. That's all. Nothing to worry about. I already took care of it, I explain, leaving out the details that, honestly, I just wanted to forget at this point. Okay. Now that that's all resolved, Sullivan, can I talk to you about some stuff? Alone, please, I ask. Sure, Rimuru. There are some things I would like to talk to you about as well. Sullivan smiles. He begins to lead me toward a nearby hallway. I look back as I start walking away. Diablo, stay here and behave yourself. If you cause me any more issues today, there will be consequences. Do you understand? I say in a firm tone. Yes, my lord. I promise I will refrain from causing you any more inconvenience. Good, I say, convinced he will behave himself for the rest of the trip. I start walking side by side with Sullivan down a dark, ominous, impossibly long hallway with numerous doors. What the heck is going on with this hallway anyway? It reminds me of when I went into Ramirez's labyrinth for the first time with my students. Analyze it, please, CL. Analysis complete. Spatial magic has been used to make this hallway endless. The average person would not be able to enter or escape the space without the caster allowing it, although you can escape with spatial domination if the need arises. Thanks, Yell. So, Sullivan created a place for us to walk and talk with no interruptions. Pretty impressive. Looking up at his face, his warm expression from before is replaced with a harsher one. The face of someone important, someone powerful. It reminds me of the one I wear when meeting with the leaders of other countries. He isn't messing around anymore. He's serious. Since he's stilled himself for an important discussion, I decide I need to prepare too and look the part. Wait a moment, Sullivan. I think a different appearance would be more appropriate for this talk we're about to have, I say as I take on my full size, changing into my Demon Lord clothes as I do. This is how I really look. I'm no child, like you might have first thought, I state in a confident tone. I've realized that already. I determined that your presence was far too overwhelming for that to be a possibility. I'm glad you figured that out on your own. I would hate for you to have the wrong idea about me. I am a Demon Lord after all, I say with an evil smirk. Sullivan point of view. I lead the slime Demon Lord named Rimuru into my illusory corridor for our talk. Despite feeling intimidated by the creature resembling a child walking next to me, I force myself to act confident. I put on the same act I do when I'm in a meeting with the high-ranking demons. From my discussion with Diablo, I've learned that the slime's power is even more overwhelming than I first suspected. Suddenly, she stops and says, Wait a moment, Sullivan. I think a different appearance would be more appropriate for this talk we're about to have. The small Demon Lord is small no more. Now standing next to me is a woman in her 20s, of a modest height. Her outfit is almost completely black, with a long overcoat covering an outfit with golden details, and knee-high lace-up boots on her feet. Her waist is accentuated by a belt attached to a fancy-looking katana. The whole ensemble gives off the feel of a ruler, but is still be made more for practicality than looks, an outfit suitable for a Demon Lord. Her once shoulder-length silver blue hair now flows all the way down her back, standing out against her black overcoat. The silvery strands seem to replicate the luminescence of the moon in this dimly lit hallway. Her face is one of perfection, with sparkling golden eyes that stare right through you, and flawless pale skin that almost seems to glow. Her beauty is unrivaled, almost godlike. This is how I really look. I am no child, like you might have first thought, she says, sounding sure of herself. Now I feel even more intimidated. I must keep it together at all costs. This request is too important for me to mess up. I've realized that already. I determined that your presence was far too overwhelming for that to be a possibility, I say, trying my best to act confident. I'm glad you figured that out on your own. I would hate for you to have the wrong idea about me. I am a Demon Lord after all, she says smoothly, her beautiful face distorted by a grin filled with darkness. Even faced with this overwhelming power, I can't mess this up. I must protect him at all costs. He is too important to me. Rimuru point of view. I decided that I should be the first one to make a statement, since I prompted this interaction. I had a little heart-to-heart with your grandson earlier. To be honest, I've taken interest in the boy, I share with Sullivan. Is that so? He asks. Yes, he's had a life full of suffering from what I could tell. I hope he's happier here, I give my opinion. Yes, I do too. I myself am not sure what it is about him that initially grabbed my interest, but I've become quite attached to him in the small amount of time we've spent together. I watched him for some time before his parents sold him. I actually prompted the deal with them after seeing how much Iruma was suffering. Even as a demon, I couldn't stand by and watch him go through more of that, Sullivan admits. I'm honestly surprised that a demon would take so much interest in a human child. I thought demons enjoyed observing pain and suffering. Showing sympathy for a neglected human boy seems pretty out of the ordinary for them. He's quite the interesting kid. Despite his past, he still seems kind and caring. He hasn't given up on trusting people. Resilient is how I would describe him. Yes, I agree. He isn't one to give up, Sullivan agrees. Let's get to the point of what I wanted to talk about. Despite his resilience, though, I am honestly worried for his safety. You're sending him somewhere where he will be surrounded by creatures that might eat him. Are you sure that he will be safe? I question, applying a bit of pressure to Sullivan. 100% sure? No. I am the principal of the school he will be attending, Babbles, so I will be nearby most of the time. Despite this, I'm unfortunately a very busy man, so I can't give him my full attention. As much as I would like to, it is possible something may still happen to him, so I am concerned, just like you are, he admits. He actually admitted that he might not be able to fully protect the boy. I'm even more concerned now. Could I ask something of you, Demon Lord Rimuru? Sullivan asks, a small bit of desperation coming through his voice. Depends on what it is. Ask away, I say, preparing myself to receive his request. Are you willing to help me protect my precious Iruma? We are both concerned for him, and you are immensely powerful. Any help you could give would be greatly appreciated. I understand you must be a very busy person as well, but please, still give it some thought, Sullivan begs. I have been pretty bored lately. Tempest can practically run itself without me at this point. Also, if I wanted, I can leave a parallel existence there to take care of things while I helped out Sullivan here. I can probably set aside my time to help him as long as I like his plan. I'll have to get something out of it, though. Master, I recommend asking for knowledge of this realm's magic. From analyzing this hallway, I have determined that the magic used by those demons operate differently than what I am familiar with. That'll work. I'll request that if I end up agreeing to whatever he's planning. What kind of help do you have in mind, Sullivan? I say, not wanting to agree to anything without knowing what I'm getting into. You have the ability to change the age of your body, so I would like you to disguise yourself as a student. You could watch over young Iruma, act as a mentor for him, and intervene if he is in danger. I want you to be my secret eyes, ears, and hands in Babbles, supervising my grandson and watching out for suspicious activity and individuals that may harm the school. I know it is a lot to ask, but I can compensate you generously as long as it is within my power. Please, Demon Lord Rimuru Tempest, I humbly request your aid, Sullivan pleads, as if his life depends on it. And that concludes Chapter 5 of Rimuru and Iruma's Adventures in the Netherworld. We are at the last chapter that is like less than half an hour. I mean, the other ones are a little bit shorter than half an hour, but we're finally getting to the longer ones. I'm excited. I'm also glad that I'm as far ahead as I am. It's currently, I'm about a week and a half ahead right now with recording this episode. And I'm super thankful for it because while the next few ones are still only half an hour, it only gets longer from there. A lot of the current releases of chapters are ranging around like an hour long each. When I get there, I might end up having to split the chapters into 2 parts. I don't know. We'll see. But for now, I hope you have enjoyed this chapter, and I'll see you all next time, my munchkins. Bye-bye.